Mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts. How we like our martial arts? We like them mixed. In the evening, in the afternoon we like them mixed, but later in the evening we like them bare knuckle. I mean, we cover it all here. We cover it all.
I mean, I think we always like our martial arts bare knuckle. We just don't get our martial arts bare knuckle all that often. But this weekend we do, because the UFC may be off, but the combat sports world certainly is not. We got a doubleheader coming your way tomorrow, starting bright and early at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. PFL Road to Dubai Champions Series goes down. And then, I'm not really sure on whether there will be overlap, but at some point in the evening, BKFC Knucklemania 5 takes place from the wonderful world of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And we figured, hey, why not? Let's do a preview show about it. There's no UFC this weekend. We get a week off before the UFC heads to Saudi Arabia, but a lot of stuff is going down. And while each card individually maybe isn't like your cup of tea, there are at least 3 fights that I think are pretty good, and you could sell me on a few more that would be interesting. And so certainly if tomorrow you're not actually I think all the football's Sunday. So if you got nothing else to do on Saturday, there's a full slate of combat coming your way. Hello, everybody. I am Jed Meshew. Name's right there. I'm a writer for MMAfighting.com. It's a great website, but you already knew that. This is our preview show, and joining me to talk about all the things going down this weekend, the same man who joined me yesterday for Between the Links, the king in the north. He's not my best friend, but he's a darn good dude, and I just like him a lot. Alexander Cayley, get on in here.
Oh, hi. We spend too much time together. I mean that with you and with Casey and with the listeners and viewers. We spent too much time together. I'm feeling too familiar. But here we are. Here we are, guys, for another preview show. I think at 2 events that are... One of them, I think, has a bit of buzz. One of them, I actually don't think they've done a terrible job promoting it. Obviously, I'm talking about PFL. The latter, like, we slag them a lot. But I think they've done sort of what they can to make something out of this lightweight championship main event, both like storyline-wise, both as far as like exposure. I've obviously depends what circles you run in and what your social media looks like. But I've seen it. Like, I've seen a lot of Nurmagomedov stuff. I've seen a lot of Paul Hughes stuff, and I'm like, this is the best they could do. It's not going to be a blockbuster event. It's not going to have like millions of people tuning in. But I can't really criticize PFL or Bellator, because it's a Bellator type PFL. I can't really criticize PFL for how they've handled this. I think they've done what they can, especially amid all the other storylines and controversies that are creating a few more headlines that they probably would rather went away.
I can criticize them, and I certainly will, just because the Bellator lightweight title is ostensibly up for grabs in the main event between Usman Nurmagomedov and Paul Hughes. And PFL less than a month ago, like a week and a half ago, was like, yeah, Bellator is dead, but the belts sometimes live on. So it's all very, I don't know what any of that means, but it doesn't matter. It's a great fight, AK.
Did you see people saying online that the belt will be like just retired after this? Did you see that?
I did not.
I can't remember who reported it
to do that.
Yeah, like it's like it'll go down as the last defense or the first title win for Paul Hughes, and then they'll just be like, no, and now, congratulations, here's your belts. You're the last Bellator champion, and we move on. So, something like that. I don't know if this was firmly reported, but that's my understanding.
I mean, that would be okay. Also, it would just make more sense to do the lightweight champion. Who even won the lightweight season? Trying to think who won the PFL championship at 155 this past, and I can't recall who that was. But like, just do that. Have those 2 dudes go after it. So it is what it is. But we'll get to PFL in just a little bit. AK, let's start here. How excited are you for this weekend as a whole? Like I said, we've got 2 events: BKFC Knucklemania 5, this PFL. No UFC. We're coming off the heels of 311. What's your enthusiasm level for tomorrow, just writ large?
Pretty high. I mean, I don't know if I'll be tuning into everything minute by minute. It's a solid 7. It's a solid 7 out of 10. I think, like, we always say, like, you can't have the UFC every weekend, and it's good to have variety, and it's good to have products that are like a little bit different. PFL is not. I mean, let's be honest. PFL is a it's very similar in cage product. As smart as the cage is, it is still very similar. You're getting the same kind of thrill. But BKFC, I think they've done such a great job with their scheduling. I think they've done such a good job with their branding. The Conor McGregor relationship, I mean, dubious at times, given what a not a great person he is, and some of the things he has going on outside of the cage. But otherwise, it's undeniable that his popularity has somewhat spilled over onto the organization itself. It was already building up organically very well. I think like before McGregor, we knew that just going by our honestly website numbers, it was getting really good traffic. I think this has only helped it. That association, him becoming the part owner, has only helped it to sort of tip just a little bit further into the mainstream, as it were, whatever that means these days. You still got to deal with some erratic stuff. He was super late to the press conference on Wednesday. Like, I think it feels like it was supposed to be at 3. I think they pushed it back to like 4 o'clock start time. We assume because of him, he still wasn't there, so they just said F it and just did it. And then I think he showed up at like 4:30 or 5. So he was essentially 2 hours late, and he did like one short speech. And that's about it. But sorry, we got to the point of the weekend though. Like as far as what we're actually going to see, forget the McGregor stuff. There's just a lot of compelling fights here. Like I just think the main event of PFL is so. I don't know how competitive it's going to be, but I just think they've built it up in a way that people can believe it can be. And I think the top 3 fights they promoted for BKFC are really solid. Eddie Alvarez, Jeremy Stevens got a heavyweight title fight with Mick, Terrill, Rothwell, and Taylor Starling and Beck Rawlings, two of the faces of their promotion, if we're being honest, 2 of their more fighters that they pushed from day one. So, 7 out of 10. I know I said a lot there, so I was actually more excited, but I'm not going to overshoot here.
No, I actually think that's right, just because they're not one event. And so to see all the best stuff, you'll have to be kind of locked in for a very long period of time, or just go back and, follow the coverage in McFighting.com. It's a terrific website. And then go back and check the highlights, check the fights you want to see later. But if this were one card, you just kind of pick and chose the best of the best from each, I think it'd be a really good weekend. But PFL in some ways is a 1-fight card. That fight is terrific. But let's do PFL last, because whether people on this website want to acknowledge it, whether people whose name rhyme with Ron Mavis would like to acknowledge it, the co-leader of combat sports is not PFL. It is BKFC. They are clearly the number 2 combat sports promotion in the world right now in terms of just broad appeal, drawing interest, getting people to tune in. And Knucklemania is their flagship event. This is the thing that they have in some ways built the promotion, the brand around. We saw the presser yesterday, as you pointed out. The association with Conor McGregor appears to be paying dividends to them to some extent. I mean, we're seeing PFL try to associate Paul Hughes with Conor McGregor, despite that not really being a thing, just to get sort of the faint whiff of McGregor around them. So BKFC just having him be a part owner is certainly helpful. And I mean, let's just be honest about it. Couple of fights here, really, really interesting, compelling matchups, starting with the main event, AK. In your main event, Eddie Alvarez, former UFC lightweight champion, taking on Jeremy Stevens. Eddie has fought a couple of times in BKFC. He is coming off the Mike Perry loss, where he was comically outsized against Platinum Mike Perry, the sort of face of BKFC. Jeremy Stevens should be much more in line with kind of sensible weight matching here. And we know all about Jeremy Stevens. He fought in the UFC for 40 years, has like 60 MMA fights. He's 2-0 in BKFC himself. It's a really compelling fight, isn't it, AK?
Yeah, I love it. I love it, and it's what these guys should be doing at this stage of their careers. I feel like we'd all like there to be some league with a viable, legends division, right? And that's where you would have your Eddie Alvarez's, your Jeremy Stevens, some other, a lot of other popular fighters, a lot of names who could be drafted later today by the GFL as of this recording. But that doesn't really exist anywhere, unfortunately. No promotion ever really jumped on that. Bellator was kind of like, once upon a time, was kind of doing a fun thing. They would bring in Hoist Gracie, Ken Shamrock. Like, they were almost hinting at like a full-time Legends division and never quite committed to it. It's not an easy thing to do either. And it's always going to seem a little unsavory, I think, throwing in older fighters. But Eddie and Jeremy are like in that sweet spot where they're older. Certainly in fight years, they are way up there. I mean, just when they started fighting and also the amount of fights they have on their resume. But we still want to see them compete. I think there is still that that fan base that wants to see these guys compete, that doesn't feel like they're just like totally cooked. And MMA right now might be a bridge too far, like as far as finding competitive matchups. But bare knuckle, I mean, it feels fresh. Again, like I said, I know both guys have already done it, but it feels fresh. It still feels new to them. People want to see these guys stand and bang. I mean, Eddie's great at mixing the martial arts, but he's always also been an exciting striker. So I don't know. I love these kind of pairings. I don't mean to like put over BKFC so much, but it just feels like they so far for like, again, the number 2 combat sports promotion in like North America right now, they're just always hitting the right notes. It's not for everyone. Not every fight is for everyone. Not every event is for everyone. But they seem to know broadly, like, well, we're going to draw you in with Alvarez and Jeremy Stevens. Then, if you don't like that, well, we got the heavyweights, we got the women fighting. There's just a really good strategy here. But just talking as a fan, I'm really happy to see these two mix it up. And I think they're going the right way with it. I'm excited. I'm excited for fight night. I think it's going to be a great. We'll do our official predictions later, but I think you'll get at least like 3 or 4 good rounds out of it. I don't think either guy's smoking the other guy in the first round.
Yeah, I'm pretty interested in this one. Eddie Alvarez is always a fun dude to watch fight. Jeremy Stevens, frankly, the same. Jeremy Stevens seems to really have taken to bare knuckle fighting in a way that we all think Eddie will or should, but it's just hard to gauge because Eddie's, the debut fight is always strange. The Chad Mendez bout was extremely competitive despite Eddie ostensibly being a little bit bigger there. And then Mike Perry was just far larger than Eddie that didn't really have an opportunity for success in that way. This, like I said, they should be like evenly matched. And so I'm excited to see this last a little longer than the first sort of volley of shots either way and see how both men are adapting to this, because in their prime, their MMA career, certainly I think everybody would have picked Eddie Alvarez to win this fight, but Jeremy Stevens is scrappy as hell. And these two dudes are like, you kind of pointed to it. This is sort of the retirement league of the UFC. This is the Legends thing. It's not nearly as overt as Bellator, frankly, was like doing with Ken Shamrock in his 50s. But we still get to see some of our favorite dudes, guys who are past their prime, but get to have competitive bouts and compelling matchups. And so, and frankly, doing this in Philly, chef's kiss. I mean, this is how you promote. Like, we bag on the UFC for never taking Stipe back to Cleveland and sort of these miscues that they've made. Feldman, no such issues. Oh, I got Eddie Alvarez under contract. He's a Philly guy himself. We're doing Knucklemania 5 in Philly. Eddie's going to hold this down. It should be a big, exciting event tomorrow. And AK, like I said, this is not going to be like one of our elongated preview shows. So we don't have to talk about our predictions later. Just do it now. Who do you think's winning this one?
Man, I gotta lean towards Jeremy. I just feel like BKFC is another dimension. I mean, Mike Perry is a star of BKFC, for goodness sake, and he wasn't like a top 20 welterweight in the UFC. But it's just different. This is stating the obvious. It's not MMA, guys. It's not MMA. Even now, I would probably favor Eddie over Jeremy. Like I said, in their prime, clearly Eddie. And then even now, if there was an MMA contest straight up, I would favor Eddie Alvarez. But that's not what this is. That's not what this is. This is an environment which is, meant to cater to Jeremy Stevens' skill set. He has always touted himself as the power puncher, as the guy who, I don't get TKOs. When I knock you out, I get KOs. You stay down. Now that's, again, against a guy like Eddie, I don't know if he'll be able to keep that promise, but he's going to do some damage to him. He won't have that side advantage that Mike Perry has, but Eddie gets hit. I mean, Eddie does get hit. I'm sure he'll want to, be a tactical fight, maybe fight a more counter-based style. He'll get his going into. But that BKFC ring, something about it, it just, there's no hiding in there. You know what I mean? Not that you can't fight defensively, but you are going to scrap. You're going to get cracked. You're going to get cut. And I think for Jeremy Stevens, that's just like, that just favors him. That favors him in this scenario. He's been fighting for the same amount of time as Eddie. I think both guys have like 20 plus years of combat sports. And that's just like pro. God knows what they were doing, like, in smokers and as teenagers, probably getting the scraps then. So the mileage is about the same, but I don't know. In my mind, I feel like I've just seen Eddie take more damage or end up on the receiving end of that kind of damage more recently over the last few years. Maybe, again, maybe there's an optics thing. So I do have I do have Jeremy winning this fight. I'm going to say cut stoppage. I'm going to cut stoppage in the fifth. Let's go to the fifth. This is going all the way, and then cut stop, and not controversial. Like in a fight that I think Jeremy will be winning. Like he'll be winning, and then we just won't get that big kibosh at the end that we're all hoping for. And I think, but there will be a stoppage. I just think it's gonna get ugly, and both men's faces will be quite disfigured by the end.
I'm going Eddie. I think that Philly crowd is going to have him lit. You're going to hear his wife just screaming Eddie at ringside, going to lift him up. I think this is going to be an absolute barn burner. They are going to come out and just chuck him. There is no hiding in the BKFC ring, and neither of these two dudes will want to. They will throw them until someone falls down. I think that we'll get a few rounds in, but I'm going to go Eddie with a third round TKO victory. The other big matchup from BKFC this weekend at Knucklemania 5 AK, the heavyweight title is on the line. The BKFC heavyweight champion Mick Terrill taking on former IFL heavyweight champion. I think that's the only one he was a champion of, and former UFC heavyweight, obviously, Ben Rothwell. Big Ben Rothwell has been lights out since joining BKFC a couple years ago. I think he is 3-0 in the promotion with 3 finishes. Don't quote me on that. I'll look that up in a second to make sure I didn't totally just lie there. But finally getting his crack at the belt. Terrill coming off beating Lorenzo Hunt, sort of weirdly, dislocation, but defending his belt, kind of solidifying himself as the heavyweight king. And now Ben Rothwell coming in. This is certainly the main event is the one that draws the eyeballs. That's why it's getting top billing. This is the most significant fight as far as caring about BKFC belts, etc. And AK, frankly, I think this is going to be pretty damn fun given what Ben Rothwell's looked like in the BKFC ring.
Yeah, I love it. This is a perfect co-main event, and it goes along a little bit with our Legends thing. Like, there's probably no major MMA promotion out there right now that's going to put Ben Rothwell in a really prominent spot other than BKFC, and it's well deserved here. He is not just in the co-main event because of his name value. It's like he's 3-0. All right, he has grinded his way up the hard way, as he has in many promotions, frankly. And both guys are 40 plus. So again, Mick Terrill also is not, he did kickboxing once upon a time. He's not fighting for championships or co-main eventing any sort of major kickboxing show anywhere in the world. But somehow, in the land that is BKFC, these men have found value. These men have given entertaining performances inside the ring. And here they are, again, in a very well-deserved co-main event spot, which if there was frankly, this could have headlined a smaller BKFC show. This is, of course, their debut in Philly. They're going Wells Fargo Arena. They won a big one. That's why Eddie's there. Eddie's there in the main event. But this could have, this championship fight easily could have headlined another BKFC show. So really glad they're getting their shine. I think Mick Terrill is going to surprise some people. I think I haven't seen odds. Are there BKFC odds out there, Jed? Is that a thing?
I didn't actually look for them. Let me take a gander.
I was going to say, how easy are they to find? Because I don't think your average gambling app is just going to have BKFC on there.
Definitely sometimes there are BKFC odds, but let me see what we got here. The Knucklemania.
I would bet Rothwell is fit. I would bet
Rothwell underdog plus 190.
Good. Whoa.
There are a couple of offshore books who have odds. Wow. By the way, Eddie Alvarez is the underdog in the main event, plus 125. Jeremy Stevens, minus 155. Mick Terrill is the minus 240 favorite to the plus 190, plus 200-ish for Rothwell, depending on the book.
Listen, the odds makers have got the memo. This ain't MMA. This ain't MMA. There's BKF, there's bare knuckle boxing, there's MMA, and it's totally different. And yeah, in this world, sometimes things are upside down. Again, Mike Perry's now a heavy favorite against pretty much anyone he faces in there, which sounds bizarre, but that is the way it is. So yeah, hey, respect to the champ, Mick Terrill. But I imagine there's a lot of Rothwell backers out there. So that's news to you guys. If you like Rothwell, you can get him at a pretty good price. You said plus 180 or plus 190 or something? Plus
190, plus 200 at a different book. I do not have access to the books with lines up at this moment in time.
Yeah.
But I will be honest, just for funsies, I will, if I am able to place a wager on Eddie Alvarez and Ben Rothwell, I will be placing that wager because I won't bury the lead here. Maybe this is just my bias, my MMA bias coming through. Obviously, I have a long relationship with Ben Rothwell as a fan of watching fights. He he's a compelling personality, the Darth Vader laugh, the King of Kenosha, just being like the most Wisconsin dude that's ever been, while also being a fun, sort of affable dude who can hit a 10-finger guillotine or knock your ass out real fast. Like, this dude is looked so good since moving to BKFC as well. Kind of rejuvenated his career in a lot of ways. Mick Terrill obviously has been putting in the work. He is the champion for a reason, but for no other reason than I just want to support the dudes that I know better. And I know Eddie Alvarez. I like Eddie Alvarez's chances, like I mentioned. So if I can find a way to place a bet on him, I will. And I'll be doing the same Rothwell. This feels to me like it's a coin flip fight, if nothing else. Like, they're just two giant dudes who hit real hard, fairly durable, and they're just going to swing and bang and see what happens here. So, AK, forgive me because I was looking up the odds. Did you actually pick this fight?
No, not yet. I do have a pick, and I will say shout out to Eric Good in the comments who's going to the event. Have fun, Eric, and also says bet 365. He says bet 365 has odds. So
yeah, there are a couple places.
Jed, I always say don't bet on MMA. I've never said don't bet on bare knuckle boxing. That has never happened, and I'm not saying to bet on bare knuckle boxing. I am just saying I have never said not to. That's it. That is my legal. I'm just being legally in the clear here. Because that is interesting. That is interesting. Scott McCrate says he's rolling with a Beck, Ben, Eddie parlay. We don't, not listening to you, Jed. You always say don't parlay underdogs, but
you super shouldn't do that.
You know what? Vibes though, but vibes.
Jed, I mean, if you're just having some fun, just throw like a tenner on it. Sure, yeah. But don't do that. I am jealous of you, Eric Good. I will go see a BKFC event live. Obviously, a Knucklemania would be one of the best ones to go to. They came to Atlanta a few months back, and I could not go to it because I had to do the watch party, and so I couldn't make it work. I was deeply offended when I found out that was, I think that was UFC 310 weekend, that they were in Duluth, and I could not attend. So jealous of you, Eric Good. Also on this card, the other sort of big fight is, as Scott McCrate noted, Beck Rollins taking on Taylor Starling in I think they call this at women's flyweights 125.
Oh, we didn't pick. Wait, did we pick? We didn't pick fight.
I picked Ben Rothwell.
Oh, you're picking Ben Rothwell. Oh, sorry.
I was very clear about picking Ben Rothwell.
My official pick is Mick Terrill. I'm going with Mick Terrill. He's light on his feet. He's like a cat. He's like a cat, Jay. He's like a big cat. And I think we'll watch Big Ben obviously try and walk him down. I mean, that is just the Big Ben way. Not exert too much energy, early and look for those big shots. But I don't know. I think we'll see some like Terrill like kind of dancing around him, looking for opportunities. It's intriguing. It is two big guys who obviously can hit hard, and at some point we'll start slugging it out. But I think like at range, it's gonna be interesting. Even though Ben's gonna have the reach advantage, I do think movement of the champ is gonna make a difference. So I'll go Terrill by second round TKO.
I'm going the opposite. Ben Rothwell, okay. TKO second round.
Okay.
I think he just catches him. Maybe he has to eat a couple to give a couple, but we know Ben Rothwell is more than content to do that. I wouldn't bet my life on it, but just, again, this isn't going to be a show where we give you the most tactical breakdowns. We're just here to have some fun because that's what BKFC is. It is just a good time. You never tune into a BKFC and you're like, man, that was slow and terrible. It's like, no, it's super fast pace. I got exactly what I knew I was getting. It delivered on its promises. I had a great time, and I'm out. And that's where we'll be. A couple of other fights happening on the main card of Knucklemania, but frankly, nothing that at least nothing that jumps out at me as anything in particular of note for us. AK, if there is something, now is the time, or else we can shift our focus to PFL.
Let us shift. Let's shift the focus. I'm ready to move on.
Then we go to Dubai, AK. The Road to Dubai Champion Series PFL goes down starting 11 a.m. Eastern Standard, or I guess actually Eastern time, tomorrow morning. Your main event, we have already talked a bit about this, but it's time to get into it in particular. It is Usman Nurmagomedov defending the Bellator lightweight title against Paul Big News Hughes. AK, this is, for my money, Actually, I don't even want to say it. Let me ask this question: is this the best fight that can be made outside of the UFC right now?
Oh, I'm gonna say no. I don't have any other examples at the moment. But just based on maybe I'm not as hype about this contest as you are from a competitive standpoint. Like I said, I like how it's been promoted. I think Usman is a guy that, if Bellator still existed, would have been a really nice guy to push to start of the new. But he's not as exciting as a Patricio Pitbull or Michael Chandler. I understand that it's a bit of a hard sell for some people sometimes, but as far as being a great champion, like, this is a guy who could rattle off 5, 6, 7, 8 title defenses if they were able to book him regularly. Not that it matters anymore. It sounds like the title again will be retired, or at least probably won't be defended regularly, like more than once or twice a year, if they even decide to keep that going. So I don't know. I don't know from a competitive standpoint if I think it's the best fight. Paul Hughes was so impressive against AJ McKee. Close fight, but the fact that he's even close, considering how heavily favored AJ was going into it, is amazing. So even if you thought AJ kind of like deserved the nod on the card, just like, Paul Hughes was still damn impressive. But the odds seem to reflect that maybe he's not the man to dethrone Usman. I'm just looking here on Tapology. Plus 350 underdog, 85% of Tapology users picking the champion Usman Nurmagomedov, and a sizeless thing. I think it's 85% out of 1,500 picks. So I don't know, Jed. So I'll say no. That's just the original question. I don't think it's the best matchup you can make, mainly because like Rug is out there, and we could see him fight Pudzianowski, and that would be up there. You said major, right? So we can't move Francis anyway. Yeah, Rug is out there, and any number of heavyweights are out there for him. So I put a lot of those matchups over what we're going to see on Saturday.
I think you're crazy. I think that this is, if not the best fight that can be out of the UFC right now, I think it is one of them, despite the odds. So our friends at FanDuel have Usman Nurmagomedov minus 600 betting favorite to come back on Paul Hughes plus 370. Those are very, very wide odds. Quite frankly, I don't entirely think those odds are deserved. I was super impressed by Paul Hughes' performance against AJ McKee. I thought McKee would have a pretty comfortable time beating him, both being able to be competitive on the feet when necessary and just having the vastly superior grappling game. Just not how that worked out. I know that it was a split decision. I thought Paul Hughes pretty clearly won that fight to me and just looked sensational doing so. That fight made me interested in this fight, because prior to that, I would have had no interest in it. And while I would still favor Usman Nurmagomedov to get his hand raised, he is of that team, that lineage, an exceptional fighter in his own right, though I think he is very different than both Islam and Habib and Umar. He still obviously has a ton of tools. I'm now really, really interested in this fight because AJ McKee is a very good fighter, and I thought Paul Hughes beat him cleanly. So for me, the big question, AK, comes down to the grappling ability. Can Usman succeed where AJ had a lot of issues in scoring takedowns, holding Paul Hughes down? For you, AK, what is this matchup like? What is the central question at the heart of this matchup?
No, you just said yes to answer your question. Yes, he'll be very successful with his grappling. I don't want to undersell what Paul Hughes did against McKee and how high level he showed he was. I just see him getting Nurmagomedov. It's a bit of a bummer thing to say, and again, that's not necessarily the worst thing. Like, I know people hate seeing guys get held down, especially in heavily promoted, heavily hyped main events. But for me, like, if Usman can do that to Paul Hughes, I think it'd be really impressive. I would be. I'm not saying like, oh, it'd be an incredible performance we'll be talking about at the end of the year if Usman is able to neutralize him for 5 rounds. No, probably not. But in the moment, it will be fascinating to see, because Hughes has all the nobody believes in me motivation that you can possibly have. But like we said, the odds makers see him as underdog. Usman's undefeated. Usman's the champion. Usman's got that Nurmagomedov name. Paul Hughes is not expected to win this fight. And in MMA, like, that kind of motivation goes a long way. And especially for a guy who, I think if you're someone like myself who's wasn't that familiar with him before the AJ McKee fight, there's still an element of like, I don't know how good this guy is. Maybe like the severe MMA guys like Sean Sheehan, those guys probably know how good he is. I don't know. So the ceiling could be higher than I'm giving him credit for. But I just think Usman right now is one of the 20 best fighters in the world. pound for pound, and that's going to be a lot to overcome here. So I do see him using his wrestling, controlling a lot of the fight, maybe not doing as much damage as people would like to see, but certainly not taking that much damage as he kind of controls a very gritty and I think a very game Paul Hughes, who like is not going to quit. He won't be broken in the fight. He just won't be able to get enough offense off to take the title from the champion. So, I'm going Usman. Comfortable decision.
I think I am going to go Usman. Part of me just wants to be contrarian and say, look what happened with the last Nurmagomedov to fight. He was a big favorite and fell short of expectations. Usman has looked far more vulnerable than Umar ever did. And like I said, Paul Hughes really impressed me with that performance. But I do ultimately think his skill set is too much for me to pass up on. I won't be stunned if Paul Hughes pulls this off. But I think that Usman is a very talented striker as well. And so even if he is forced on the feet, I think he can have a lot of success there as well. And then you mix in the takedowns. He can sort of ice rounds, shorten the fight as he needs to. A lot of weapons, but this could be the coming out party for Paul Hughes. And if so, then PFL may have themselves a real star. Like I think this kid has got some potential to captivate fans, become a person of interest for them. So frankly, if I'm PFL, I'm probably rooting for this, especially with the not so subtle points from Team Habib that Usman is bound for the UFC sooner rather than later. So we will see about the main event. The other quote unquote big fight, the co-main event, AK, I guess we'll start here. Vadim Nemkov is taking on Tim Johnson. Is this a co-main event or is this a penultimate fight?
He is a former Bellator champion. He is on a nice run. So I am going to call this a legitimate co-main event. Sorry, guys. Are you losing me audio-wise?
You sound kind of
echoey. Audio, I have you terrific. Video is questionable.
My video has gone. Thank you. Completely wonky. Okay, as long as you can hear me. No, this is a legitimate co-main event. This is again former champion Vadim Nemkov, a showcase fight for him. It's unfortunate that there's a bit of a cloud hanging over it because we know there was a controversy with Corey Anderson. They announced that he was fighting Corey Anderson a third time, this time at heavyweight. Their previous bouts, of course, were light heavyweight championship bouts. And I don't know how excited people were to see them throw down again, but at least it was like two long time Bellator guys who have been at the top of the division for a while. There was a controversy around the first fight. The second fight pretty clearly for Nemkov, and I don't think people were totally against them running it back, especially in a new weight class, maybe freshen it up. And now we know that fight was never really signed. Both fighters, Corey accused Nemkov of like not wanting to fight, and then Nemkov, I think in subsequent interviews, has not denied it. He just said, yeah, it just didn't make sense to me to fight him again. I have nothing to prove there. I'm trying to do new things at heavyweight. Unfortunately, he's ended up with Tim Johnson, who respected veteran, nothing against Tim Johnson, but if he thought that a third fight with talking about Nemkov, if he thought a third fight with Corey Anderson wasn't going to move the needle, a fight with Tim Johnson is it might move the needle backwards. I don't know. Like it's just not registering with most people. So it is a co-main event, but he has to show out here. He's now suddenly actually put a lot of pressure on himself, and I think we're all pretty confident that Nemkov will win. But this is MMA. This is heavyweight now. He's one random Tim Johnson haymaker or something from just like totally messing up his world. So from a Nemkov showcase standpoint, I think it's intriguing. From a holy crap, how funny would it be if Nemkov lost standpoint, it's also intriguing. So yeah, I think a solid top two fights here.
Not only would it be funny if Nemkov lost, I think I'd have to dig in to make sure. I think it would be the biggest upset in MMA history. Our friends at FanDuel currently have Nemkov a minus 3,000 favorite over Tim Johnson. The comeback on Johnson plus 1,380 plus 1,380. To the best of my knowledge, that would be the biggest upset in major MMA history. I'm sure that there are some CFFC or some cards that got odds somewhere. Something wonky happened. Minus 3,000 is a big favorite. So it would be deeply funny.
Are you adding to the climb this week with Vadim Nemkov?
You can't. That's too big to even do that. Like,
what's the range? What's the range for the? I don't understand. It has to be
I
within
mean,
like
minus
minus
500 is really the target. You want something in
Oh,
there,
okay.
but a
That's a
couple,
little.
1 or 200 on either side of that, we can
Uh,
make use of, because like sometimes I'll go a little lower, sometimes a little higher. -5 is the target. -3 is unbelievable. It's like a 98% win probability, odds
yeah.
implied or whatever. It is outlandishly large of a number. So I agree it would be deeply funny. I don't think it's going to happen, AK. Credit to Tim Johnson for stepping in. You know, like you said, I don't know that the Ante Delia fight would have done too much for Nimkov, but Nimkov is just in this weird space right now. It seems he would make the most sense to be the guy to fight Francis Ngannou in some situations, but based on Don Davis's comments that he thinks Ngannou won't compete until the end of the year, I'm not sure that that's happening for Nimkov. And so honestly, he is in limbo. I would frankly like to see him also ask for his release from the PFL and be granted it to help the UFC heavyweight / light heavyweight division, because God knows it needs it. But I think he's going to get the win here on Saturday. I like Tim Johnson. He's probably going to get tackled a bunch, and this fight won't be that interesting. My official pick, AK, Nimkov by decision.
Oh, I'm picking him to show out. I think he'll KO him. I think he'll KO him. I think Nemkov's. I don't think his stand up is bad at all. So I'm going with the first round.
Could be a ground
First
and
round.
pound. Could be ground and
That
pound
too.
TKO.
Yeah, rock
I could
him.
buy
Yeah,
that.
rock him. I think I'll see him rock him on the feet and finish in the ground. So I'm going Nemkov first round knockout. People don't put money on that. Don't put any money on this fight. If you're like Jed said, there's just no juice to be had here. Don't do this. I mean, well, if you're
I am
if
almost
bored,
tempted to put like $5 on Tim Johnson just
if
to
you're my fellow Canadian,
just why not?
if you got a toonie lying around, throw a toonie on Tim Johnson. You've had a toonie in your couch pillows, throw one on, because what is that, $20? You get like $20, right? If you won,
Yeah.
more, yeah.
No, well, it would be like a little bit more, not that much more, like 24.
It's that, or it's the same thing as throwing that toonie in the garbage. So maybe don't do it, but what the hell? If you're watching,
have a little
you want
fun.
to spice things up. Have a little fun.
Instead of buying a candy bar, have a different kind of fun. Rooting for Tim, Big Tim Johnson this is healthy fun. You're rooting for Big Tim Johnson. It's the healthiest fun that can be had. AK, the rest of this card, it exists. There are fights on it. Nathan Kelly taking on Ahmed Magomedov, Ibrahimov taking on Kenny Moka. So I'm going to screw. I tried so hard in pre-show to get this done. Mokono Oana. I'm sure I butchered that.
Who apparently
for that.
Who apparently is GFL draft eligible. I don't know if you saw that. He is on there. They announced him as being signed.
I love everything about GFL. See, that's the point. I don't know who is. I think everybody's just GFL draft eligible, and then it's because like technically you can draft anybody in the NFL draft. Well, that's the thing. Like technically you could. And then it's just a question of whether I'll actually do it or not. You know, so. GFL, I'm officially putting my name out there. I am draft eligible.
Yeah. You have kickboxing experience. You've kickboxed. You've kicked the boxes.
I have kicked the boxes one time. But sure, that was also well over a decade ago. But yes, like
if they draft,
I'm eligible. GFL, Casey, reach out.
Yeah. If they draft Casey, I will lose it. There's 20 rounds. There's 20 rounds. People forget back in the day. People like back in the day, like when the NBA draft had, or any draft has like 7.
This is an MLB draft.
Rounds. Yeah, but like MLB teams would draft like a football, like a college quarterbacks. NBA teams would draft pitchers.
Jesus, I guess there are only 6 teams, so that 20 rounds it'll go by a little faster. It's 120 selections or whatever, but man, I'm less excited about watching the GFL draft tonight. That shot clock between rounds better be 12 seconds.
Can we tell people if you are interested in the GFL draft, but obviously maybe don't want to commit to sitting down for 20 rounds, you guys got to go to MMAfighting.com, and I believe our own Jed Meshew will be providing live
I didn't
updates. So
realize
yes,
20 rounds. I
go
wish I wasn't doing that now.
go out, have some fun, but have a device next to you every now and then. Just check in MMAfighting.com. Oh, Jed's updating the live blog. Oh wow, I can't believe Andre Sukumtat went to the New York the New York fighting people. And there you go, and then you'll know.
And I will also be doing a draft grades afterwards, just like you get a traditional draft thing.
This is gonna be
Grading
amazing.
which team is the best, had the best draft for an event that probably will never happen, but it'll be great. AK, before we close, throw it to the peeps and then get on out of here. Anything else you want to talk about on this PFL card? Because it is really a 1.5 fight card as I look over it.
I said this on BTL, so I won't repeat the whole thing, but love the idea of let's get a bunch of fighters who are Russian or sound Russian and have them fight Irish people. Like this is we cannot we cannot give you Khabib versus Conor. Can we create Khabib versus Conor in the aggregate? We're gonna find out. Let's see if this happens.
Billy Bean promotion right here.
That's what
might be able to do is recreate him in the aggregate. We can't get one Khabib Conor. We can get like 6 of them. And then I don't know if you saw the clip. Apparently, some Irish and some Russian fans scuffled outside of the weigh-ins this morning. So they're doing it. They are recreating Khabib Conor in the aggregate. They're moneyballing the hell out of this promotion. Well done. Honestly, one of their better efforts, PFL. Well done.
Yeah.
I respect it a lot. I
did a poll. What will you be watching this weekend? Pretty split between PFL and BKFC.
Really?
36% saying both. They're 36%. So 34 saying PFL, 31 saying BKFC, 36 saying both. Again, they're not. We should remind people they're not competing. Of course, Dubai, like there might be a little overlap, but Dubai will be during the day. Knucklemania, the meat of it will be in the evening. So watching it both will be very easy. I'm really just asking: are you committing your whole day to watching PFL and BKFC, or just one or the other?
I think there's going to be any overlap. It's possible that there's some, but there are only 11 fights on this PFL card starting at 11 a.m. I mean, that thing should be wrapped by 5 at the absolute latest, I would think. And
PFL is a slight edge. PFL's on HBO Max.
PFL.
Way to go, PFL. HBO Max.
It is.
BKFC. What's BKFC on? DAZN?
I assume BKFC is on. Their prelims will be YouTube, and DAZN always carries their events, so I would guess it's the same. Yes, that is the case. So both of those are in the books for us. Casey, hop on in here. If we have any questions about BKFC, PFL, even if we have a couple about GFL, we can go for 10 minutes. And then, like I said, we're going to keep this short and sweet. Just felt like doing a preview show might as well. So Casey, before we hop to the peeps, how are you? What's your excitement level for this weekend? You pumped?
Well, no, because I'm not going to be watching because I'm just going to have a life and do other things because I have off. So.
Wow.
But you can still choose to watch.
Yeah. Your life could be ball is life, Casey. Ball is life. Yeah. But you know what, Casey? That's fine. You don't have to watch. Because you can go to MMAfighting.com. Yeah. It's a great website. And we'll keep you up to date on all the important things that happen. See all the best highlights, et cetera, et cetera.
I will, no matter what I'm doing in the back of my mind, it'd be like, we go to a wedding and a pay-per-view's on, you're kind of like, looking at your phone every once in a while. There'll be moments I'll be like, I wonder how that fight
I don't know what you're talking about. If a pay-per-view's on, I'm watching. Wedding be damned. I don't care if it's my own wedding.
Oh, well.
Yeah, my own wedding. I'll just be like, nope, sorry, we got to get hitched before 5 o'clock because fights are going on. Got to see UFC 312 in all its splendor. Thank you very much. Right. What movie are you gonna watch then, Casey?
I don't know. Probably I'm gonna go to my Letterboxd account and I have probably like 300 movies in my watch list, and I'll just go, all right, what can I find free for streaming, or like I'll pay $2 to rent that one of those. Probably some classic, arty farty film.
Instead of watching BKFC, shame on you. Tisk.
Sad. Real quick, what's a bigger, according to Tapology, 98% of people are picking Nemkov, with 2% picking Johnson, which is identical to last week when we had the big upset of Hani Barcelos and Talbot. So I think that's kind of interesting. Is it the same level upset if Johnson wins in your eyes?
There's a much bigger upset if Johnson wins.
Yeah, I think so
much
too.
Bigger upset.
Yeah.
Both odds wise, because Peyton was like a -1,000 instead of -3. But also, like, Peyton Talbot is a prospect. Like, prospect losses are a real thing. Like, if Nemkov loses, it'll be wild. It'll be incredibly funny.
Because we know who these guys are. We know who these guys are.
But as far as the weight class jumps, so Nemkov just has one. Am I missing it? Has he just fought one time at heavyweight?
Correct. Yeah.
Is it only the one?
Yeah.
I feel like he's fought more than once at heavyweight. Am I wrong?
No. Just Bruno.
Well, yeah, I think that looking back at this, yes, this is correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So to me, that's like the big factor in this fight. Obviously, if they were the same weight, or I don't know, whatever. If Tim Johnson was a 205er, we would have picked Nemkov easily. But I don't know. Is the jury still out there as far as Nemkov as a heavyweight? I guess we'll find out.
I think the jury's just in on who Tim Johnson is.
Yeah, the jury.
I don't believe he should be this big a favorite, but I still think it would be a bigger upset.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Cool.
Couple of questions, and we can get the hell on out of here.
We got one super chat. We got to talk about this, I guess.
Oh no, Achilles. I'm not going to say that because I don't want us to get demonetized.
Is that demonetized?
I don't know, but I know what that means, and I'm not confident that. Use your critical thinking cap, and I bet you'll figure it out. Beers for GFL draft and BKFC fire. If this thing is 20 rounds, you may need exactly those for this GFL draft to stay up to the wee hours of the morning for this. I had no idea this was 20 rounds. I guess that makes sense. They're doing 10 weight classes and 2 picks for each weight class, but yeesh, that's tough. So, thank you, Achilles.
For any of our podcast listeners, Achilles just asking if there will be some recreational substance use to make it through the GFL draft. And
nose beers for GFL draft was the question.
He just said it.
He
just said it. Our monetization. I have kids to feed.
I don't support this whatsoever.
I have kids to feed.
I love
trying to be subtle about it.
We talk about the most violent sport in the world, and we talk about gambling, but that stuff, no.
Coca-Cola is too much.
Coca-Cola
is too much.
I'm not listening. I'm covering my ears. I'm not listening.
What a weird world. Thank you, Achilles Jr.
Thank you, Achilles.
Yeah, hope you have a fun weekend.
He does now because he doesn't have to deal with New York Rick's sad ass anymore. So Achilles won.
Okay.
Achilles is the champion.
All right.
A bit of a Mr. Bozo wanted us to ask this, but I think we know the answer.
Will Team AB bounce back at PFL after Umar didn't bring them the UFC Bantamweight Championship?
Putting that on Umar?
Team could be bounced back like 30 minutes later.
They bounced back like 7 minutes later when Islam ran through Renato Moicano.
I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, I think they're going to win. But, somebody, maybe it was Lazy or Joseph, somebody in the chat was like, how, Casey, see if you can find, I don't know if you had it queued up, a question about some of the comments Usman has made, and also with reference to what Umar has talked about in the following his loss. Exactly. Lazy Bed puts on Mike Heck hat with Umar's comments pre and post fight after his loss. Now Usman's arrogance in the build to this one are the Nurmagomedov showing they're bad sportsmen. I only just saw an Usman comment this morning, so I don't know if there's more where he was basically saying, I'm not really sure why this fight's happening. I don't think Paul Hughes is a big name or deserves it. And I'll be honest with you guys, that was off-putting to me. That's bad. Pretty clear why he got this fight and does deserve it. He beat AJ McKee in a fight that was sort of transparently booked as a number one contender. So that feels bad to me. That feels really weird to take that tact.
Yeah, this is Pro Wrestling 101 is you diss your opponent, but the one thing you don't do is say like, oh, you're a nobody and you don't like this belong, whatever, and that stuff. Because if you win, you beat a nobody. If you lose, you just lost to a nobody, which is even worse. So like you can do all the trash talk, you can do it, but at the end of the day, you have to kind of maintain an illusion of competitiveness, even if that is honestly how Usman feels, right? Like, oh, I don't get like, oh, he just beats one guy and then he gets to fight me. Even if that's how you feel, you can't sell the fight like that. It's really, really just bad mojo to go. I don't know why this is happening. It's just not a smart thing to say. So not a fan. It doesn't offend me, but it's just not good for him or his team. It's a bad way to sell a fight.
Logically, yeah, that makes sense. But also the fact that we're talking about Usman's arrogance. Now we're going, ooh, maybe this fight's even more competitive now that Usman isn't taking him seriously.
That's not at all what I'm going.
Aren't you saying? Aren't you? Why are you worried? If Usman said like this guy is
I'm
the toughest
not
opponent,
worried about it. It's just it's a bad look, especially coming off the heels of the interactions with Umar ahead of the Merab fight, and like there was certainly some.
Merab was saying the same thing about Umar. He doesn't deserve this. He doesn't deserve this, and then
but then he won. And so that, like, if he wins, none of this will matter. But Umar, like, we talked about it in the preview show that the pre-fight press conference, like, felt weird. It felt like Islam and Umar were kind of poking Merab and being a little shitty about it. And then they should have to eat humble pie, take that L. Umar's now not even trying to do that, saying I still won the fight, etc. And so for now, Usman to have not learned any lessons of like, yeah, man, to AK's point, he's a good fighter. It's good. Like I'm going to kill him because I'm better than him. But like, it just isn't. It doesn't leave a good taste in my mouth for the sportsmanship or whatever of this team. Like I would prefer them be better than this.
I don't even think it's bad sportsmanship. Like I said, I think it's just bad promotion. I think it's bad for the fight. I don't think it's sportsmanship. The sportsmanship doesn't bother me. Yeah, I don't think
it's sportsmanship, but like whatever the word, it's certainly bad promotion. But I also just like, nah, man, like you just keep those thoughts to yourself. You don't need to share them. They're just unnecessary.
So overall, in fight promotion, do we not like when fighters say, "This is it. I'm gonna kill this guy. This is the easy fight." Is that
I like it if you can be. I like it if you can be clever, but if you were,
because then Connor said everything. Everyone.
It is in the artistry. The art is getting away with it. There's that old quote about jokes, like about comedy. Like you can say cancelable stuff if you can get away with it. Like if you can get away with it, cool. But like they're not. This did not get away with it in that way.
We just like, no, you're just kind of wasn't clever enough. I got you.
Or again, you just got to back it up. Like we always said about Connor was like he said it, and then he lived up to every moment. He built up to this moment where he has to win. Like he has to win. He has to embarrass this guy, and then he embarrassed like a lot of people on his way up to the title. And it's like, oh,
I'm gonna knock this dude out in the first round. 13 seconds later, boom.
Yeah, and that's why you have this cult of a-holes now who will never leave him because he got on this hot streak and
he said it once. He got it right once, and then he's right every time.
Well, a few times.
You got it right like 4 times.
Aldo,
and then he missed it like 4 times.
But once you get it right enough, you're good.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
They don't care.
Once you confirm it, then nobody backs away from their priors. You're just locked in on it forever. Yeah. So ultimately, I don't think it will matter. I do think Usman is going to win, but when I saw that this morning, I was like, man. And then part of me was like, maybe this interview happened a little before the Umar fight. But like, also part of me was just like, Khabib should be like, hey guys, shut the hell up. Y'all need to shut the hell up if you're not going to win. So calm down. But we'll see.
Yeah, I like it because it gives Usman a personality. Because to me, I just don't know very much about his personality and all the interviews I've seen of him. So I'll rather him be an arrogant jerk because it's something. That's for me.
But it's also stupid. He obviously deserves it.
Yeah, it's not that
he had a fight that was for this belt. Like it was a number 1 contender fight. What are we talking about?
And the other thing is, like, you're not promoting yourself. You're not saying like, "Oh, I'm so good that this guy doesn't." Like, he's not really saying that. He's just like, "This guy doesn't deserve to be in the title fight." Like, that's a big difference. Is you got to promote yourself, not just downgrade your opponent. Because again, with respect to Usman, he's not like the most popular fighter in the world. Like, we know he's good. We in the media and hardcore fans know he's good. He's not that well known. He can't be pulling this card of like, "Oh, this guy's not in my league." Like, he's not wrong with based on whatever their resumes in Bellator, but it's like, your average person does not know that. They don't know that, and they don't care. And you can't just you can't convince them just by saying that. So promote yourself a little bit more, and before you get to that, like, my opponent is trash and shouldn't be here range. It's strange. It's strange way to do it.
You do you. You do you.
Hey,
I like it.
Do what AK said. Either promote yourself or promote your opponent and then beat your opponent. Because this isn't pro wrestling where you can say your opponent's shit and then you're going over. Like, build him up, and then when you beat him, it's good. Or just build yourself up. Be like, he's fine. He's not me. It doesn't matter. But thank you, LazyBet. Good question. We'll do one more, and then we'll get out of here at a tidy 1 hour preview show.
Choose wisely. Casey.
Choose the best one, because it's only one we're doing.
Oh man, are we talking about? There's a lot of
anything's up. I know it's fine.
There's a lot of.
Open up the GFL board if we need to. That's fine.
This is
Jed, who's going number one?
Jed, GFL question.
Who's going number one? Did you see the latest? Like, did you see? We have a post that hasn't gone out yet, but you can check in this, like, the full list of who is supposedly eligible. And again, this is just a list that they've. I'm so confused by now. Who's actually eligible or not. That, like, it could be well beyond this list of people.
Somebody built a live round by round for me. That's sick.
Yeah. Don't worry.
I don't have to do that. That's terrific.
Yes. And then we had a post to break. There you go. It just pub now. The Tony Ferguson news.
Tony Ferguson, Dylan Dennis,
didn't hear about that.
Eligible to be drafted.
So Tony Ferguson is draftable. Is that
he is draftable?
Is that
he could
that
go
news?
number
maybe?
one?
Did I miss that? Is that
the news broke now
today?
Also,
today.
maybe.
Yeah. Just today. Yeah.
Also, saying anyone is draftable is very questionable based on
who will it be? Patricky Pitbull, Jed? Alima Lay McFarland apparently is getting back into. I guess she never fully retired, and maybe GFL is offering a fat check if she gets drafted. I don't know.
Shit, this is a
I'm
looking through the list right now.
Some names that you never thought you'd hear.
I would not
Mike
first
Grundy?
pick any of these people I've seen yet.
Who else?
Ray Borg is back. Look at Ray Borg being back
never
in the game.
gone.
Is Parker Porter
Sensao.
Parker Porter there?
Andre Sukumtat, who, if you check their social page, GFL, they showed him twice. They're just so excited that they could draft him, that he's got 2 posts. Douglas Lima. Douglas Lima's in there.
Ooh, Dougie Limes. All right.
Dougie Limes. Honey Marks.
Caldwell.
Honey Marks. There's a name
Kelleher.
you haven't heard. Yeah. Apparently, Corey McKenna, who was with the UFC not too long ago, I guess. Yeah. She was today.
I'm priced into, if I had the first overall pick, there's only one human being I would choose. The correct answer, frankly, is Demiris Magulov. Like, that is the one you should take, as far as he's probably the best fighter.
Did you get rid of him? Oh.
Yoel Romero is is the key to my heart. I would a billion times pick him first overall. But looking at this list of people, I am not looking forward to this draft tonight, because I'm going to be honest. All the like big names, you should not draft any of them. Like, if I was actively in charge of a team and trying to build a team, I wouldn't draft any of the people It would be better to blindly pick some dude with an Av or Magomedov or Ev last name than to be like, I'm going to choose Shogun Hua in the year of our Lord 2025. So, like, this draft could suck if it's just, Tafik Musayev is also a good fighter. Your guy, AK.
Tafik Musayev? Musayev
literally just saw. Yeah, I literally
Tafik
just saw
Musayev
Kali right now.
is eligible to be drafted.
That should be a very top lightweight pick.
I would say it would be him or Demiris Magulov. We're like,
you're right.
To win, those are the 2 best of the people I saw. for me and myself, I'm picking Yoel Romero, and I have no regrets about that.
I should decide if still PFL. Yeah.
Someone actually tagged me in the comments. I guess my notifications didn't get it. Someone tagged me into the comments and said, "The Pleasure Man is back." So, Jake Warren, if you're out there,
never
I'm
left.
Sorry, this was apparently 5 days ago. I did not see this message. I got to fix my notification because if people are tagging me with the Pleasure Man, I need to be getting these notifications. So there's your number one pick right there.
Luis Enrique da Silva, Todd Duffy.
This is crazy.
Omari Akhmedov, man.
Right, real quick, because I don't watch drafts. I don't get the whole draft. Everyone loves drafts, whatever. But if you like,
they're fun. You did one. It was fun.
No. What I don't get is everyone's like, that was a horrible pick. That was the best pick. The whole point of drafts is that you don't know if it's a good pick or a horrible pick till 6 months from now, a year from now. People go like, when people judge draft picks the day they're picked, it's like, well, everyone thinks they're picking the right person in the moment. You don't know if it's a good pick until 6 months. So I'm always like, do people go back and okay, let's see this draft from 3?
Of course they do.
There's a large cottage industry surrounding the NFL draft in particular. And one of the critical components of that is let's review the 2000 NFL draft and see what we did wrong. Let's redraft the 2000 NFL draft, knowing what we know now. Who would have drafted? Yes, if GFL,
I find that more interesting. Yeah,
well, that is super interesting, but we can't look back on the past of GFL since this is the first time it's happened. God willing, this thing actually works, and they have a promotion, and their promotion for years to come. I guarantee you, I will be doing let's redraft the GFL season.
Oh yeah,
but we got to get there, and I am not confident we're getting there.
So the GFL,
Chad Mendez. I might draft Chad Mendez. He can fight.
You could probably draft Eddie Alvarez. I'm sure, people fighting tomorrow. I'm sure you could. I think I literally think you can pick anyone, and then
I think so. It feels like it.
You probably can, and then it's just whether they will fight for you.
Yeah, because isn't that pretty much like the NFL draft? You can pick a player, but it doesn't mean you're actually going to sign them or whatever. Because you still have to negotiate the contract and everything, right? Is that? I don't follow sports.
I have no idea what the GFL. Well, yes, in real sports, I have no idea what the GFL thing is.
Yeah, but generally in pro sports, if you're picked in the first 2 or 3 rounds, the intent is to sign you. It's not until I do think in this case when it gets down to the 12th and later round, you might see people get drafted and not necessarily compete. I don't know, but they do have rosters to fill out. So this is a different situation. This is not an established league. They do need bodies to make fights. So.
It's very up in the air because and the NFL, they have a players association. They collectively bargain. There is no real negotiating for your contract. You are drafted. You get a set standard contract that applies to everybody based on your draft position or whatever. You are just functionally agreeing to that, and maybe you can hold out for 1 or 2 different things, but you are largely locked in. Okay. With this, we have no idea how this works. Theoretically, the GFL signed a bunch of fighters, but I don't know if it's on the team to then sign those fighters to. I have no idea what the hell's going on here.
I don't understand. I'm so scared. And I just hope people get paid and they're not. And that, like you said, there is an event.
I don't need them to get paid because they're not going to fight. If they fight, then I need them to get paid.
Yes, that's what I mean. Yes, I hope.
They don't even have mascots yet for their cities, so I don't think it's real. I don't think it's real. If you don't have a mascot, you're not real. You're not a real team.
Especially because that's the easiest part to do. You can get a mascot, and even if you don't want to hire somebody to build, you could just chat GPT. We are the Arizona. I'm trying to think of the animal that is not already an Arizona team animal. That would make sense.
Desert birds.
The Arizona cacti or whatever. You could be the Arizona cacti.
You just read my mind.
Well, it's I can't go rattlesnake. So what else is in a desert? Scorpions and cactus. Cacti is funnier than scorpions. So Arizona cacti. Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah, rattlesnakes.
What do you think a diamondback is? Snake.
I don't know. I don't follow baseball. I watch Dodger games. That's it.
A diamondback is a snake. So yes,
whatever.
They do have a snake team. I hope that answered all the GFL questions because I'm sure it didn't because I know that I've seen many of them.
We couldn't possibly answer
zero
all the
answers
GFL questions.
I can ask any question with
Nobody
GFL.
knows.
We have no answer.
Watch
but
my
it could be anything.
Town Hall watch Mike Heck's town hall with Darren Owen, which happened earlier this week, and you'll get some answers. But I left that town hall, and thank you, of course, to Darren Owen for sitting down with Mike and doing that. But I still left that with a lot of questions. I was not assured of the prosperity of the GFL or the stability of it after that. But best of luck to everyone.
We could go another hour asking questions and not having any answers about GFL, but we're not going to do that.
We really could. Honestly, instead of doing this preview show, I should have pushed harder for us just doing a live watch along for the GFL draft.
Oh my god!
I think more people would have been interested, frankly.
Yeah, we messed up.
We should have. It would be electric. It's going to be the silliest 6 hours of my life now. I'm upset to find out it's 20 rounds. Hope it goes quick. That will be live. Our live blog goes active this evening when that comes on. There's no pre-fight Q&A, and I don't think we're doing a post show for the events tomorrow. So this is all you get. AK, do you guys have on to the next one on Sunday? Just like a Q&A?
Oh, no, because my best friend is still on vacation, I believe.
I just didn't know if you had planned for it or not. So
I do not.
No, on to the next one this weekend as well. But after Saturday, we're back to our regularly scheduled everything because the UFC is back to business. UFC Saudi Arabia 2.0. Israel Adesanya, Nasruddin Imavov. Casey's picked to be fighter of the year, Nasruddin Imavov. It'll be a good time. Enjoy the fights this weekend. Tune into MMAfighting.com for all of your coverage needs. And GFL bless. Love y'all.
Bye.